Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Jennifer San Marco? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Jennifer San Marco was born on December 6, 1961, in Brooklyn, New York. After graduating from high school, she went to college to study natural resources management, but dropped out. Jennifer moved to California in 1989. She worked as a prison guard in Riverside County. 2 days before her probationary period was set to end, Jennifer quit her job without explanation. Her work performance was adequate. The reason for her departure from that job remains unknown. Jennifer went on to work as a dispatcher for the Santa Barbara Police Department. She quit that job after working there for a few months. In 1997, Jennifer found a position as a clerk for the U.S. Postal Service. She worked at the mail processing plant and distribution center in Goleta, California. She worked nights, starting her shift at 9 p.m. This appeared to be a job that Jennifer took seriously, like one that she was interested in keeping for a while. Jennifer bought a condominium in the area and appeared to live a normal life. Later, Jennifer also found a part-time job in a cafeteria at a high school. She left that job in 2000, but continued to work for the Postal Service. Over time, Jennifer's behavior became erratic and disruptive. She would sing loudly in front of her condominium and aggravate a neighbor of hers named Beverly Graham. On one occasion, Beverly called the police, who told Jennifer to stop singing. Jennifer complied, but she would never forget what Beverly did. On February 5, 2001, Jennifer was involved in a bizarre incident at the mail facility where she worked in Goleta. She introduced a disturbing topic to a coworker. In response, the coworker reported her to management. The police became involved after Jennifer refused to cooperate and walked to a different part of the facility. Officers dragged her out from under a mail sorting machine and handcuffed her. They removed her from the distribution center and transported her to a mental health facility. She was placed on a 72-hour hold and given a mental health assessment. Jennifer denied having mental health symptoms. The Postal Service did not fire Jennifer after this incident. However, after returning to work, she once again behaved erratically. Jennifer made racist remarks and talked to herself. In June 2003, she was placed on medical leave. Her time at the Postal Service was over, at least as an employee. Jennifer sold her condominium in Santa Barbara and moved to the town of Grande, New Mexico. This is a small town about 78 miles west of Albuquerque. Reportedly, Jennifer ended up in that town because, as she was driving her car, it just happened to break down there. She allowed fate to select her home. It's also possible that bad mechanical engineering or a failure to maintain her vehicle played a part, but either way, Jennifer did not have any connection to Grande, New Mexico. She didn't know anyone who lived there. Jennifer ended up living in a small house by herself. She attracted negative attention from residents for bizarre behavior. I'll talk more about that in the analysis. In July 2004, Jennifer went to the municipal office in the town of Milan, just 3 miles from Grande, and applied for a business license to start a periodical called The Racist Press. Later, when she returned to the office to renew that license, she tried to obtain a business license to manufacture cat food. Her application was denied because she lived in an unincorporated area of the county. Perhaps there was a rule against unincorporated cats getting food. It's not clear. But either way, Jennifer wasn't happy about being denied a license. At this point, she became fixated on one of the employees who worked in the municipal office. Jennifer would frequently stop by the office and stare at the employee. It became so disturbing that the employee would hide when Jennifer entered the building. On one occasion, when Jennifer loudly made a rude comment about the employee, the police removed Jennifer from the office. Eventually, Jennifer started having pervasive thoughts about conspiracies. She came to believe that the employees at the mail facility in Goleta, where she used to work, were conspiring against her, like they were trying to harm her in some way. In 2005, Jennifer went to a pawn shop in Grande, New Mexico, and purchased a Smith & Wesson Model 915 semi-automatic pistol chambered in 9mm. She paid $325, waited 2 days, then picked up the firearm from the pawn shop. Jennifer passed the background check with no problem. Jennifer traveled to another pawn shop about an hour away in Gallup, New Mexico, and purchased about 200 rounds of 9mm ammunition. She practiced shooting her pistol behind her residence. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On Monday, January 30, 2006, Jennifer made her way to Santa Barbara, California, to the condominium complex where she had once lived. Sometime between 7:15 p.m. and 8:15 p.m., she paid a visit to her former neighbor, Beverly Graham. This is the same neighbor who had complained to the police about Jennifer's loud singing. Jennifer climbed over a fence behind Beverly's residence, entered through an unlocked door, and shot Beverly 1 time in the head. Beverly did not survive. Her body was not immediately discovered. Jennifer then made her way to the Postal facility in Goleta, where she had worked for 6 years. This facility was a major mail distribution center that operated 24 hours a day. About 80 employees worked on each shift. The building was locked, and the grounds were protected by a chain-link fence. Shortly after 9 p.m., Jennifer was able to drive into the parking lot of the facility by staying close to another vehicle as it entered the gate. After backing her pickup truck into a parking space, Jennifer exited her vehicle and produced her 9mm pistol. She threatened an employee and demanded that employee's identification badge. After the employee complied, Jennifer told him to leave. She did not harm him. As she approached the building, Jennifer shot and killed 3 employees. Other employees heard the gunshots and looked out the windows. Jennifer looked back at them and smiled. Using the stolen identification badge, Jennifer entered the building and shot a 4th employee in the lobby. This employee, who ran a training program at the facility, was mortally wounded and would die 2 days later. Jennifer attempted to shoot another employee, but her firearm misfired. At this point, she switched magazines and continued into an area of the building where the mail sorting machines were running. This area was very loud, and many employees there were wearing hearing protection. Jennifer went to her old workstation and encountered 2 employees. She shot and killed one of them, but the second employee didn't realize what was happening because he was wearing hearing protection and looking the other way. Jennifer shot and killed him as well. At this point, Jennifer San Marco turned the gun on herself. Ultimately, Jennifer murdered 7 people, her former neighbor plus 6 workers at the postal facility. It is believed that Jennifer worked alone, and the case is considered closed. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. Very little is known about Jennifer's childhood. As I mentioned, she grew up in Brooklyn, New York. The neighborhood where she was raised was predominantly Italian-American. People who knew Jennifer thought that she was normal, but found it odd that she didn't talk about her family. Her parents separated at some point, but nothing else is known about them. Item number 2. To obtain her job in the Santa Barbara Police Department, Jennifer had to take a mental health assessment. Presumably, she passed this evaluation. These mental health assessments are not particularly effective at detecting people who are dangerous if those people are being deceptive. However, there is no reason to believe that Jennifer was lying. I think it is reasonable to believe that she did not have mental health symptoms at that time, or at least not pronounced mental health symptoms. Item number 3. Some of Jennifer's Postal Service coworkers described her behavior during her time at the facility. In the beginning, Jennifer appeared to be intelligent, quiet, attractive, and friendly. Over time, however, she became standoffish. Unfortunately, her behavior only became more worrisome. She started talking to herself in the form of talking to an imaginary friend. Initially, she could be redirected when she was doing this, but eventually she started ignoring everyone and became completely isolated. Jennifer became increasingly angry and appeared to be disorganized. For example, she would come into work with lipstick improperly applied. It seemed as though she just took the tube and swiped it from one side of her face to the other in a straight line, like she attended the Miranda Sings School of Cosmetology. As far as her life at home, Jennifer's neighbors believed that she was unbalanced, erratic, and loud. As I mentioned, she killed her former neighbor, who reported her singing to the police. Item number 4. After Jennifer moved to Grande, New Mexico, it did not take her too long to attract negative attention from local residents for her unusual behavior. Here are a few examples. Jennifer would go into a restaurant and order food, but then run out before eating. Sometimes she would purchase food or alcohol from a store, walk outside, and throw the items she just purchased in the trash. She would also throw away cash. Jennifer would kneel and pray in public, sometimes on the side of the road. She had a habit of removing her clothing in public. One time the police were called after she was spotted in a state of undress at a gas station. Reportedly, Jennifer was also warned by the police not to drive without wearing clothing. Jennifer would talk to herself. She would have discussions with an imaginary friend. This was a recurring theme with her behavior and similar to what happened during her time with the Postal Service. Jennifer would not only talk to the imaginary friend, but would argue with the entity as well. Screaming was involved on certain occasions. Jennifer would sing in public, recite expletive-laden rap song lyrics, and make racist comments. Jennifer had recorded a lot of her thoughts in writing. It was apparent that she had distorted views about religious belief systems. She believed that the government and the 1975 musical, The Rocky Horror Picture Show, were sending messages to serial killers. Jennifer kept a diary where she carefully tracked every perceived offense people had committed against her. Even the smallest infractions were recorded. Jennifer's physical appearance became increasingly disorganized, consistent with her practice of improperly applying lipstick. For example, Jennifer cut her hair in a way that was not aesthetically pleasing. One person said it looked like she cut it with a hatchet. Another person said that she must have used a hacksaw. Either description is inconsistent with proper hairstyle management. Jennifer believed it was important that David Berkowitz, the New York City serial killer, known as the Son of Sam, was a postal worker. Perhaps this inspired Jennifer to become a killer, almost like she was destined to choose this path because she had also been a postal worker. Item number 5. What mental health factors may have been at work with Jennifer San Marco? Jennifer was involuntarily admitted to a mental health facility at least once, but it's not clear if she was ever diagnosed with any condition. When looking at the various symptoms that Jennifer exhibited, I think one could make a good argument that she had a psychotic illness, perhaps something like schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, or a major mood disorder with psychosis. For example, Jennifer would not admit to having any mental health symptoms. She had a lack of insight and didn't realize that she was ill. Jennifer had ideas of reference, like connecting the history of David Berkowitz to her own experience. Jennifer believed in several conspiracy theories involving the government and homicide. This included paranoia and the transmission of messages. Jennifer had conversations with an imaginary friend, as if she was hallucinating, and she had a disorganized appearance and poor hygiene, like she was cosmetically challenged. Jennifer appeared to have a dangerous combination of symptoms and abilities. Sometimes when people are severely mentally ill, the symptoms drive them toward violence, but the symptoms also prevent them from being violent, like the symptoms make it easy for them to be apprehended. With Jennifer, the symptoms supplied her a motive to kill, but her condition did not limit her in other ways. For example, she was still organized enough to plan and execute the murders. Now moving to my last item, number 6. What motivated Jennifer San Marco to kill? This is just a theory, my opinion. Some people have suggested that Jennifer was motivated by race, because all the victims in the postal facility were minorities. This is a possibility, especially considering Jennifer's history of making racist comments. But one of her victims, the former neighbor, was white. One could also argue that because 6 of her 7 victims were female, her motive was based on gender. I think that race and gender could have played a part, but in my opinion, Jennifer's primary motive was revenge. She wanted to bring an end to her own life, but strongly desired to cause suffering to all the people she believed had committed offenses against her. Jennifer had talked about how the people at the Postal Service needed to pay. I think she killed her former neighbor as a way of settling one additional score before she settled the main score at the postal facility. Now moving to my final thoughts. The desire for revenge is a powerful motivator, especially for people who suffer from paranoia. They tend to hold grudges longer and more intensely than others. It's frightening that Jennifer was willing to resort to homicide, but it's also frightening how easy it was for a victim to get on her list of targets. Her former neighbor simply complained about Jennifer making noise. None of the postal workers who were killed ever did anything to Jennifer. All these people were innocent. Jennifer could have easily selected just about anyone she ever interacted with. Her fixation on the Postal Service probably did come from the psychosis, but her desire to kill came from her vindictiveness. Jennifer's perspective was tragically and irrevocably distorted, but she knew the difference between right and wrong. Those are my thoughts in the case of Jennifer San Marco. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comments section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.